this is actually. It'll be a little Easter egg.
Too funny.
All right. We are live, and welcome to Camo Classroom. I'm your host, Eden from Camo, and I'm here today with two special guests for an NAB show recap, and for some reason I am hearing myself in the background, so I'm just gonna close that tab real quick. I think I do that almost every time I stream. I closed one, but I didn't close the other. It's all good. So what is NAB? It's the annual conference and trade show for the National Association of Broadcasters. As I bring in my guests, I'd love to know in the chat where you're joining from today and if you have heard of NAB at all. Without further ado, I'm joined by the best conference squad, Mary Lou Mandel and Kat Mulvihill. Welcome to the show. Thank you both so much for joining me today. As a part of our introductions, in addition to who you are and what you do, I'd also love for each of you to add what you were looking to get out of attending one of the biggest industry events on the calendar. Mary Lou, we'll go to you first.
My name is Mary Lou Mandel. The other half of Lou and Lou, you'll find out. If you know, you know. You'll find out. But I am a content creator. I largely make content for content creators to encourage other people to make videos, and also good vibes. I like to put out good vibes. So when we went into NAB, I had known of NAB for a really long time, so I knew what it was for. I had been told a bunch of times, people are like, you should go, but I was on the fence about it. But going this year, because we had our good squad, I was like, okay, let me go. This could be a good time. And what I wanted out of it was to get the visual landscape of what our industry is, because there's a lot of things you don't see until you see it in person. Because we can be on the internet and I can assign characters to what I see, but to see it in person is a different thing. And to also just meet a lot of people, which we really did.
We met so many people. Kat, what about you?
So my name is Kat Mulvihill, and I help people to run more professional, engaging, and seamless virtual presentations. And I was really interested in NAB partly because of seeing people like the Ecamm fam, Doc Rock, who were at it last year. And they got to see new releases, new gear, what was out there. And it just a little bit of FOMO. Just watching the footage and kind of thinking that would be really fun. And when Doc mentioned that he was going back again, and I started Googling the event and seeing all the vendors. And I thought, for me, I am personally, I know Eden, you know this, I don't like to buy more than I need. I actively try not to. And I think when you are in the creator space, and especially if you're teaching people anything to do with content creation, it's very tempting to buy all the gear and have all the things. And I try to resist that. So I thought, if I go to NAB, I'll be able to see the things, maybe actually hold them in my hands, learn about them, what are the benefits, without actually having to bring them home, because I don't want to end up with just a studio full of stuff that I'm not using. So for me, that was a big thing. I also wanted to network, meet some of the faces behind the companies and the brands that I share with my audience. I talk a lot about the tech setup that I have, so I wanted to be able to meet some of the folks behind that.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to come back to your process for buying things or not buying things. But I did want to shout out James in the audience. He was also at NAB, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, a big reason why I was at NAB was because James was one of the people I talked to early on, and he was like, you have to go. It's an industry event. You have to go. Shouts to Heather, who we hung out with at NAB also. And Ron from Sacramento says he's never heard of NAB. So we'll do quick little 10-second version of what NAB is for Ron. And Ron, I will say NAB is a giant, so it stands for National Association of Broadcasters. I keep wanting to say NBA because I'm a huge basketball fan. It is not NBA, but the NAB. So it was traditionally for, I feel like, TV broadcasters, but it is largely morphed into anyone that does video content. Would you guys agree with that sort of quick assessment?
Yeah. Very industry. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved. Yeah, so good to see you too, Heather. It was just such the best energy when everyone gets together, when all of your creator friends get together in person. I feel like it's just magic. It's just magic. Okay, so since NAB is an event, shouts to George also. All of y'all keep dropping your questions and comments in the chat. We'll get to them to the best of my abilities. And so since NAB is an event where so much cool tech was being announced and showcased, I feel like we have to start with what did we buy? Was there anything that was so cool that we checked out that we feel like we had to have it right away? Mary Lou, I'll go to you first.
I definitely bought 2 cameras, but with intent. I did know I was going in, that I was going to see the price for this and then make a decision. And with NAB and a lot of conventions, especially like if they're product-based conventions, and they're putting things on display, they will have things for sale at somewhat of a discount. So I went in kind of knowing like what the price was on the internet, like what the full retail price is, and then wanted to see what the price was when we were there. So both of my cameras were from Insta360, and one of them that I knew I wanted to get was the Go 3, which is like a little mini camera, because that's one that's just been on my list. It was supposed to be my prize for myself for finishing my first quarter of live streams and not missing a scheduled day. And I had done that. So glad I got that one. And the other one was the new Insta360 X4 camera, which had been on my list. It was not officially announced, but I had an inkling that this was going to get announced at NAB. I did not realize you could buy it on site. I thought maybe, but I'm glad that it was, because I was the first one on the West Coast to get that camera.
Yeah, the first. That's so exciting.
Yes, Mary Lou was the first to buy it. I'm not gonna lie, there is something electric about the feeling of buying something that was just announced. Did I also buy the Insta360 X4? Yes, and it's because Mary Lou is gonna teach me how to make the most out of it on our soon-to-be announced tech podcast. All right, so Kat, you mentioned earlier that you have a little bit of a process before you buy things. You try very hard not to be afflicted by gear acquisition syndrome, which, if you know what gear acquisition syndrome, in the comments, let us know if you have ever been afflicted by it, and if you or someone you know could need a little bit of help from said disease. We need to have a help hotline. I've gas hotline. Listen, it could happen. I have the laxatives on deck. But anyway, sorry, getting back to the gear acquisition syndrome. Kat, so I don't think you actually bought anything, but I would love for you to walk through.
I did buy one thing.
Oh, you did? Okay, could you share with us what you bought?
So it's not new, but it's new to me, is the Insta360, which I still haven't taken out of the box yet. The Link. Insta360
You did
Link.
Get that. Yeah, I remember when you were thinking about it.
Oh, nice. I missed that.
And I was on the fence, because there are a couple of different webcams that I have been interested in trying out. And the main reason, the problem it solves for me, is that I often work with people who they're doing their setup for virtual presentations. They want a better quality camera than what they currently have. They're not happy with the $100 webcam, but they don't necessarily want a full-blown mirrorless camera. And because my setup is a mirrorless camera, I think it can start to get complicated. So yes, it can give you a really nice look, but it has to be powered separately. It's not powered by plugging it in like a webcam is. And then also, people get confused with the settings and turning it on and all that stuff. So for some of my clients and students, they much prefer the idea of, I'd like a high quality webcam that it's powered by just plugging it in. When I turn on my computer, it's ready to go. And so I wanted to get some more firsthand experience with a couple of the options. I started with this one. I am also going to, I think, try out the OBSBot, one of them, in the future as well. So I can just get a feel for some of these. They're AI powered, but mostly I just want to see the quality, the ease of setup. How will that solve some of the problems for my clients and my students? So I did buy that one thing. But Eden, you brought up this idea of gear acquisition. So the question I ask, and I sort of hinted at it, is I always ask, what problem does it solve? right now, not a potential, maybe in the future, it could be helpful for this, but what is the actual problem I'm having? What kind of friction? What am I trying to solve? Because if I cannot answer that question, I usually end up spending money and later regret it because it's not actually something that's needed. It's something that I wanted. And Eden is covering her face.
I'm strategically covering my face while my video is so tiny because I am very guilty of this. And I really love that when you published that video and you shared sort of the process about the thinking behind making sure every purchase solves a problem, not just tech purchases. It really clicked for me, and I have put a lot of things in my shopping cart that I did not hit checkout on because I asked myself that question at the last minute. Shouts to James Hicks for saying Kat is the only one of us that actually does not have gear acquisition syndrome. Such great willpower. I have to agree.
I have sitting just by the door right now is my original Rodecaster Pro because I didn't need that. That didn't actually solve a problem, and I couldn't even reach it. And I also admitted, I think in my video, I have the Sony ZV-1. I've been using it for years. It works. I didn't need a second camera, but I was curious and I had some FOMO, so I got the Sony ZV-E10. It just sits over there most of the time because I didn't actually need a second camera in my setup. So I do have a few things that I've been sort of tempted by in the past, and I'm trying to learn.
I thank you all for the support in the chat, admitting that you have also been afflicted with gear acquisition syndrome. Shouts to Ant, who has also had gear acquisition syndrome when it comes to sneakers. So Mary Lou, you shared what you bought. Was there anything at the show that you saw that like really caught your eye that you haven't pulled the trigger on? Maybe because we asked ourselves, what problem does it solve, that we didn't quite buy it yet? But I'd love to know if there was anything that like caught your eye that that's like you haven't been able to get out of your mind because you didn't buy it yet, but it's like there.
For sure. Because this is basically like walking into a gear candy extravaganza. So if you're a camera person, you're audio person, if you are like in this life and
peripherals,
like these kind of things, you're just like everything. And to go along with like Kat's way of choosing what to buy and what not to buy, like does it solve a problem? I don't buy absolutely everything that comes out, and I also don't buy every time it comes out. I won't buy a new phone. I won't buy a new camera. I won't buy a new thing until it really does something the one before couldn't do. Like it really has to make a difference, or the people in my comments have to be really, really asking about it. But at that point, then I just reach out to the brand and I'm like, these people really want to know, can you guys answer this for me? And then sometimes they send it to me to answer the questions. So there are ways around gas. We're your support group. There's strategies around it. But the one that I can't stop thinking about was from Nan Light. And these lights are beautiful, beautiful lights. And there was one that was like a long light that was different colors, but it could be rainbow. And like, do I need this? Absolutely not. But would it be fabulous? Yes, it definitely would. And like, my lights are fine. Like I still rock my ring light from 2015 because I like it and it works. And it does what I need it to do. Like nobody would know unless and I tell people all the time so they know, but if somebody just saw this, they would not realize that this was an old light. But like, who cares? If I get the picture I want, I get the picture I want. But that rainbow light has been haunting me.
I'll go ahead and say one that has been haunting me is that Rode new interview mic that they were showcasing. It's basically, it looks like one of the OG style mics also, but it's designed for in the field interviews, so you don't have to do the awkward thing of like angling it, the who is talking into the mic at what time. It's just like really made for the out in the field interviewing experience, and I don't have a problem for that to solve because I don't do that many in the field interviews, and I'm aspiring to, but I have tools that I can accomplish with it now, and until I get to a point where I feel like I need this one mic to replace the two little mini mics that I would be using for in the field interviews, that it's not time for me to pull the trigger yet. So
I will say what's nice about that, and I sent it to a friend of mine who does do in-person podcasts and travels around with the team, And I know that in the past, she's had some trouble with the mic setup. And as soon as I saw it at the show, I sent her a link and a little video that I took. What's cool about those too, not just that it's omnidirectional, so you don't have to have it exactly point. So if you pull it away from them, it won't disappear. You'll still capture their voice. But it's got the in-mic recording. So you have a backup. So even if you contact, you can record directly on the mic and have the connection. Also, the connection works with the wireless system, but also can connect to the Rodecaster 2, I believe, or the Rodecaster Pro 2. Yeah. Yes. I was really impressed with that. I don't do interviews like you said, Eden, but I definitely sent it right away to someone who I thought, oh, I can solve her problem.
Mm-hmm. And since we're on the topic of mics, though, I know you didn't end up buying it, Kat, but I think we had a conversation about the new Shure mic that had a few upgrades that were very tempting to you. Could you tell us a little bit about the new features in that you feel like might get you over the edge?
Yeah, that's the one I'm still thinking about. It's the new. So right now, I know it's kind of hidden in the shot, but I have a microphone here. I just always wear black. It's the new Shure MV7 Plus. So this one right now is the MV7. And when I first bought it, I found that I was too quiet. I wanted a dynamic mic, and that solved that problem of my old mic was too sensitive. It picked up all the sounds. So I wanted a dynamic mic, but when I was just using it with USB when I first got it, it was so quiet. The gain, it was so low. And when I would turn up the gain, there was too much interference. And so then I got the Rodecaster Pro. So it technically solved the problem. It was just a really big solution. And that helped because I could use the XLR, dial up the gain to a certain level, and everyone could hear me. I have a friend who went back to the USB and she's been fine, but I've always been nervous about it. So when I saw the demo of the Shure MV7 Plus and the changes they've made, it's the USB-C, but it's got some, when you're using the USB-C, there are some options that are built in that sound really good. And there's I think a denoiser. And so actually hearing the difference in the earbuds when they were doing the demo, it's like, oh, this is good. And then you can customize the color, which I know is just a nice to have. It is not important, but I could customize the exact color I want on there. It was really cool. So then I could simplify my setup and not have to use the XLR, use an interface, because I don't really do anything with the interface either. So it's just, I'm thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it.
I'm still thinking about that one too. So I'm also on the MV7, original MV7, plugged in through USB right now because I still have not unpacked my Rodecaster from when I brought it to Vegas. We had big plans to film a whole podcast. There was no time. We were having too much fun. But I've been using this with USB and it's been fine. But the improvements on that's where it's like, does it do something that the one previously didn't do? Like, is it a significant enough of an upgrade? And I do think that the Plus really is, because I don't remember when the NB7 came out. I've only had this for like maybe a year and a half, but I feel like it had been out for a while. And that upgrade, the things that they've done,
I think it was 2020, because I think that's when I bought it. I could be wrong. 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, which I appreciate when brands aren't putting the new one out every year. I'm like, give us a couple years.
And like that gives it meaningful time to like get feedback and like implement new features and make changes that people actually need. So I'm with you, Mary Lou, and like I like it when there's a significant enough gap between releases.
Yeah.
All right, so James Hicks, I gotta shout out this nice little pun. He said, sure was nice. Yes, we see what you did there. We love puns here. So if you think of any puns throughout the show, feel free to drop them in the chat. We love puns here. All right, so that was sort of a few major things that we saw that we definitely wanted to shout out. Was there any other gear you guys saw that you guys are excited about that we haven't covered? Or anything that y'all were like, ooh, just like that you found intriguing, even if it's not something that you feel like you're necessarily gonna buy?
The OBSBot, I was intrigued that it is OBSBot and not OzBot, because I was trying to tag them on Instagram. They're like, oh, it's OBS bot. And it's like, OBS bot. Oh, I get it. So in case you guys are ever looking it up, it's OBS bought, but I had not seen one of those cameras in person because I feel like, I don't know, they're like not in stores and things like that. This is like online, you can find this, but they were really cute and compact and very interesting. There's one of those that can connect through NDI. Now, do I think my computer can handle that? Absolutely not. But maybe one day I can have a camera that is not connected to my computer, except I do have one. It's the one that I connect through Camo.
Nice. So speaking of, go ahead,
I
Kat.
do want to add, there is one thing that was not necessary. It was on the floor technically, but it was actually Mary Lou letting me try hers, was the Osmo Pocket 3. Am I getting that right? There's so many.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's
just
so many
realized,
numbers
why
and
are the
letters.
names? Like their names are too similar. What are they doing?
Okay, first of all, I think half of the participants who were at the conference had one. They were so popular with attendees, but when I actually tried it, and I think Mary Lou was like, just try it. I was like, oh, no, it's fine. And then I walked around just a little bit. And as soon as I walked around with it, I thought, oh, I get it. If I was someone who was making a lot of content on the go, I really did like the size of it, the stabilization, the fact that it does act as a gimbal, but it just fits in your hand. It's not big and clunky. I was really impressed with it. So that got my attention, although I can't see at this moment there being a need, but it's the type of thing I'll keep my eye on it now that I've actually tried it and seen so many other people using it.
Now you got to sell your ZV E10 that's sitting in the corner.
Yes.
Then you get the Osmo Pocket 3. And if you need a second camera, you can plug it in as a webcam if you needed. So it's like kind of double duty. Because the reason I found that camera was I needed a camera that, so I have my 2 to 3 cameras that are plugged into my computer, and every time I unplug it, everything breaks down. So I was like, I need a camera on the go, so I need something else. So I was just going to get another ZV-1 because I really, really love filming with that camera. But it came up, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 came up in a comparison video, and I had sworn off DJI products probably 10 years ago because of a couple bad experiences with some of the older products. And I was like, nope, not for me. Me and her, we don't work together. And then I saw this, and I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And all the reviews were very, very good. So I was like, fine, let me take a risk on this. And I love it. That thing has lived in my hands for the past month since I got it. I've just had it on me all the time. It's so much fun to use. I'm more willing to use it, and I don't have to film with my phone, which will easily lead me on a rabbit hole of anything else. This is just a camera to be a camera, and it's fun.
Yeah, so James Hicks says no more need to bring the big camera rigs because the Osmo Pocket 3 is the truth. He uses that and his Ray-Ban glasses. Yeah. If James Hicks signs off the equipment, then I gotta say that, listen to his advice. We did have a question that someone added in the comments about webcams. So tangentially read, I'm gonna make it bigger because it's kind of sorry. I clearly did not think about comment placement when I was creating my scenes. But our friend Bedros asks, why buy a camera/webcam when Camo app can turn the phone into a webcam? He's not against buying. I just want to know the reason and purpose to help himself buy one if it's reasonable. So that's a great question, and I'll be perfectly honest, I work for Camo. I don't know if you guys know this. Oh, we're on the Camo channel right now. Of course you guys know I work for Camo. But yes, the phone works great as a webcam, but sometimes people want versatility in what they do, or some people have things that they need to be on their phone for, especially for certain calls. Sometimes if, there are situations where you might want to be able to use your phone during calls. I think that this is not a exclusivity situation. Like, it doesn't have to only be use your phone as a webcam. You can have other camera setups, and when you have other camera setups, you can also have more camera angles. And we love extra camera angles. We love switching between different camera angles to show people just like behind the scenes shots, or just to sort of vary up the scene a little bit. But I would also like to hear you guys answer the question as the creator's creator and as someone that often is helping people decide what equipment to buy. Do you guys have anything that y'all would like to add for why you would pick a webcam?
I would add, in addition to what you said, that sometimes you want to have access to your phone, is that it also has to have battery, and the battery can drain. So either you have to have it plugged into a source, I have to make sure that it's fully charged. Will it last the whole time? Whereas if you do have a webcam, it will be charged but using the bus. So when you plug it in, it will have its power source the whole time. You never have to worry about a battery. And so that to me is another factor as well.
And I think if you are, it depends on how hard you're going at your shows or needing your webcam, right? If you only need it casually once in a while, then plugging in your phone is probably not a problem. But like what we do, we are doing this like every day, multiple times a day, like having dedicated gear that does one job there's definitely benefits to that, because I know that this thing can do this thing and it's going to do this thing well. Where if I'm using my like active phone as my webcam all the time, but I have to unplug it, then I have to set it back up. I can't just plug and play. It's not a lot of work, but there are a couple steps you have to go through between here and pressing go live. Now, I do have my old iPhone that I use through Camo, which was just sitting in a drawer. So for me, Camo plus the iPhone plus like any phone or anything that could be a camera just brings cameras back into the workflow where they were like obsolete. Like this was a brick, it was a paperweight, and then I was like, wait a second, we can do this, and now I use it all the time. So it is all like solutions that are based on how much you are using it. I think there's a benefit to a dedicated camera, which is why I got the Osmo Pocket 3, because I didn't want to be filming with my phone all the time. So depends on you. And both are great. All great solutions.
I don't know if either of you are using a teleprompter. I feel like we've talked about this, but I use a teleprompter. So if I had to go in behind, like lift up the curtain, detach it, reattach it, that's a lot of friction that would get in between me and making content. So having a set it and forget it, the camera is always there. It never moves. I've got it where I want it. I do have to turn it on. So I do have to lean over and turn it on. But other than that, it is set up. And so I think that is another advantage for having a dedicated camera in your setup.
Yeah, I agree with all of the above. And I just think it largely comes down to use case. And for example, I also just love to say, like, the phone is great for if you are doing content on the go and you don't want to have to bring an extra webcam that plugs in. Camo really slides in nicely there, and being able to use your awesome phone camera. But yeah, if you are looking for a webcam in addition to already using your awesome phone as a webcam, let us know if you have any questions or what type of webcam you want to get, because I'm on a call right now with two people that know a lot about the tools that are available. And so now is your time to ask if you want any expert opinions other than just me, because y'all can get me all the time. All right, so I did want to share something else that I bought, and that is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I love lighting stuff. And I saw so many of these pillow light things. So this is an inflatable light. Yeah. Like it's...
So you should go into a bigger screen. Show yourself bigger so you can show the product.
Oh yeah, good call. I do. So this is the big screen. I don't have it fully inflated right now because I kind of wanted to show how it's like a light within a balloon that you can deflate and take places with you. You can change color, and because it has the built-in balloon pillow thing, it kind of acts like a softbox in the way that a key light wouldn't necessarily have. So in addition to the 2024 being the year of the AI PC and every single tool being showcased needing AI, I also noticed a lot of these pillow lights, and I became so infatuated with them that I had to have one to test out.
And it's magnetic.
Wait, what?
It's magnetic.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's also magnetic. You can magnetic it onto things. It has, thank you, Kat. It has so many cool, versatile features. I was like, I feel like I need this just to take with me places to hotels and do my makeup, because hotels have dreadful makeup lighting because travel is stacked against women, from everything from TSA and the tiny amounts of skincare that we're able to bring to there being no lighting in hotels. God forbid any of us try to shoot any content in a hotel room while we are doing our on-the-go stuff. But yeah, so I saw the pillow lights. I think that they are so cute, and just being able to take them from place to place in a lot more without worrying about breaking them in half was like a big thing for me that I was like really, really excited about. All right, so Now, we've talked about gear and the cool things that we saw. Let's talk a little bit about like overall, I want to know what was like your biggest highlight of the event? Was there like one thing that stood out to you? If someone is like, "Oh, you went to NAB and you can only tell them one thing about it," what would that one highlight be?
I would definitely say the highlight for me was go with Doc. It's like go with a group, yes, but if you can go with Doc, you're great. You don't need to book any classes. You don't need to even have an agenda. You just follow him where he needs to go, and you will have a great time and see everything you need to see and meet all the people. It was wonderful.
Kat, what about you?
I am going to say the people I got to spend time with, I find in-person events so invigorating. If I had to pick something specific to NAB, the actual conference, I went to a main stage session with the actress Jamila Jamil. She's also an activist podcaster. I loved it. I could have listened to her for 2 or 3 hours just because her expertise, her background as a content creator, but also just all of the work that she does, it was incredible. So I felt really lucky to be able to attend that session. And I almost forgot about the main stage because there was so much to see on the floors. I thought, oh yeah, there are speakers here and some pretty good ones. And so that was, to me, that was a highlight.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the speakers thing did sort of fall to the background for me because I feel like I was so focused in making the rounds, and you know, Doc was shepherding us from place to place. And one of the places that for my highlight is Doc just being so ready to go. So I think it was day 2 where Doc wanted to do this, was planning on doing this live stream from the OBSBot booth. And it was, I just feel like we just like converged on the booth and like we like got out all of our gear. You know, Doc had his mobile hotspot, we had like 5 power banks, I don't know how many sets of wireless mics. Mary Lou was like, Mary Lou, we tried all of the tech. I feel like you used every cable that you brought with us. And it all happened so fast, but next thing I know, Doc is live streaming from the OBSBot booth for like an actual live stream. And it's like, just the fact that seeing it all come together before my eyes and like getting to be a part of it and being like, here, use my wireless mic set. It's right here. It's ready to go. Because one of them wasn't connecting quickly. It was just like, it was super eye-opening. And because one of my biggest weaknesses when it comes to events is creating content like as like live at the event. Like I feel like I take a lot of videos and pictures that I can like stitch into like a reel or a TikTok later, but something that I'm actively trying to get better about is actually doing content on the spot. So on that note, Mary Lou, I would like to ask you for your next hypothetical event, what is the gear list that you are going to bring to create content at the event?
Man, this time I tell you, I thought I brought too much stuff, but then we were out there and I was like, wait, I could have used this, or I could have used this, I could have used this. So I would need to, if I just had like a small bag, right? If they said no backpacks, my Osmo Pocket 3 with the 2 microphones and my phone, I could get everything I needed to get done with that setup. But ideally, I also have probably my Shure Move mics because I like having double audio. Like poor Doc, I was just like, you're gonna wear these mics and these mics and these mics because we have all these cameras coming on you. I need to make sure they all have audio. At least one of them has audio because there's a lot of interference in rooms like this. But like for just basic any event, the Osmo Pocket 3 with my 2 clip-on microphones with their googly eyes, so I know that theirs are mine, and the phone and probably the Move mics to go with the phone.
And Kat, I don't think that it was your plan to go in to create any content on the spot there, but after you got to experience the adrenaline rush with us, do you have any thoughts about maybe wanting to do this at the next event at all, or are you just like, no, not for me?
That's a great question. I was in awe watching Mary Lou troubleshoot for that stream. Also, it was pretty cool for me to be at that stream because it was announcing the integration with Zoom and Ecamm, which is, I'm a big fan. So I just think, not only just troubleshooting, okay, we've got the Wi-Fi, we've got the banks, we've got the mics. The part that impressed me was when Laura Davidson from Shure came over, was invited by Doc at the last minute to be in this announcement. And one of the options was, can you put this Rode Wireless Go on? And she's like, and then Mary Lou said, aha, let's put a Shure clip on you. We can attach that. And then I've never actually recorded. I've only ever used Ecamm by myself in the studio. I've had guests come on, but I just add they have the interview, and I never seen extra mics being added to the main camera, main sound source. And so actually just watching Ecamm be used in a way that's just different than my usual workflow was also really cool. So I think I would just love to maybe follow Mary Lou around as she does virtual production setups, because I loved watching the troubleshooting. What are the things we have to consider? What are all the factors? And then I will say the stressful part, though, is the next day, I think it was the next day, when Doc was doing the presentation at the Insta360, the plan was to stream, and that was not working. And so it's just the stress levels. I don't know. I wouldn't want to rely on it, because the stress of not having Wi-Fi, not having internet to be able to stream on the go, it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, in situations like that, I personally would never say, like, we're definitely having a live stream. I would be like, we maybe will have a live stream, because even Doc had his Wi-Fi, and it just didn't cut it, because those situations, especially it being a gear conference and being huge and tons of people with devices, just like signals everywhere, like we were just swimming through electronic signals. So I would never be like, catch me at this time for a live stream. I'd be like, you see me if you see me, otherwise you see me later.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. No, Mary Lou, I feel like we're definitely going to be doing a Lou and Lou Talk Tech episode on the conference gear, ready to do content on the spot. I feel like that's going to be a whole episode. Yeah, very, very excited about that. So, Kat, something you said about it really not being for the faint of heart, I agree. But for some reason, I feel like I didn't know that was going to be the highlight of my whole event. Like, getting to experience the chaos of trying to put all the pieces together of the live streaming puzzle. I mean, we already know, while we're live streaming from our offices, things could go wrong just because it's live. And I just, for some reason, it made me want to do it more. I think it's something about the challenge of experiencing something that I hadn't had experience with that made me feel like this is something that I want to get better at. Even though I do agree that it was very stressful, and if it was my own content, I maybe feel differently, but because it was someone else's, and I feel like we pulled it off okay, and we got there in the end, that I was able to, sort of recalibrate and be like, this was a learning experience that I learned a lot from. And oh God, now my bosses think I have no excuse to be doing more content while I'm out at events. So yeah, so that's coming, by the way. Yeah.
You really need to have more than one person, though, if you're going to be that ambitious. This worked because there was multiple production people. We had every camera, every microphone on the market. We had all the cables that you could ask for. We were very well equipped, and still had items that were like, oh, this one's not going to work, we have to switch it. And there was a couple of items that I was like, oh, I should have brought this, it would have been the thing. So if it does come to the point where your bosses are like, you need to be doing this while you're out, you tell them, we had a team of 5 in order to make this happen.
And I will need Mary Lou, I will need Kat, I will need Doc and James Hicks, and yeah, that's facts. I will say that is probably one of my biggest takeaways, is that doing conferences alone, I have done many conferences alone. You just don't get as much out of the experience as if you are with people, especially people that are interested in the same things as you and looking to accomplish the same goals as you, and that are looking to connect with the same types of people as you. If you think about just yes, it's a conference and everyone is looking to engage, but you make a stronger impression when you're with a group that makes an impression. When, us rolling 5 deep into any booth and like it's like, you know, Mary Lou and Doc, we all have a camera or two or three in our hands, and you know, we're asking all the right questions and talking about like the work that we do. I felt that it was really powerful in like sort of making our presence known with the vendors and like in establishing who we are, versus if I was just like, well, I did actually have a few hours a day where I was walking around a little bit by myself and trying to make like rounds, and it was like people, when you show up as a group, people are quicker to engage with you because they're like, oh, these people are serious and like they came here to accomplish a goal, versus like when you're walking around by yourself, it's like, hey, does anyone want to talk to me? Can someone show me what's going on? But yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and go into sort of like I love to ask what did we learn? So the first question I want to ask if you guys learned, and it's fine if it's something that we already kind of touched on, but was there something that you picked up from the event, whether it was a software tip or a hardware or like a hardware tip or anything that you are able to like immediately implement with like what you do right now? Was there anything you learned? Because like for me, I would say that I learned that having more options, for many options that of the same thing that accomplish one thing can never be like a bad thing. Is like to always have backup options. Like Mary Lou having 5 different wireless mic sets and all the cables. Like I was just like, I know that that's like not something event specific, but I learned a lot from watching Mary Lou operate at this event. I'm just be perfectly honest.
Well, I have to tell you, so it's you know, like we talk about the gas, right? And like, does it solve a problem? Like I already had like a wireless microphone, but I like this is like my jam, right? I want to try it all. I want to know how things work differently. So that for me, sometimes when I get multiple of the same type of tool, is to be able to give like the best recommendation to people. And in situations like this, redundancy is valuable. And that's where like the same with like having multiple cameras or using your phone, and then like having camera, like if this camera went out and I needed to just pull up a phone through Camo, like amazing, we're ready to go. Like I don't have to sweat over that. So the redundancy is a valuable thing. And I will, like, you know, to cue you guys in, I have experience filming people at conferences. So I knew what to get into. I don't always carry around every microphone and camera that I can fit into a purse.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. At some point, I was like, how many more cables do you have in there?
If you're gonna flex, this is the event to flex at.
And it was intentional too, knowing we were going to, so my goal going into this was like, I want Rode to know who I am. I want to meet the Shure contacts I have in person. I really wanted to meet somebody at DJI. I really wanted to get face to face and like be seen as someone in the industry, as someone who exists in this space where there are not a lot of people who look like us that exist in this space. Like the gals are out there, but we had to squint to find them. And bringing the different gear, just because I am actually part of this space where I do actually use this. I have used these things for my whole career, to be able to show up and be like, oh, we're talking to the people at the Rode booth. Yeah, here, I've got my Rode mic. Let's record with this. The Shure people are there. Great. Here, we're going to put on Laura Davidson a Shure microphone. We are not going to make her wear 2 brands at once when she's there working, you know?
Video like a dad said Mary Lou is the hero for having the Shure mic for the Shure rep.
Yes. And that was because I had that goal. So I knew I was targeting, like, this is a goal for me this year, was to get really good at audio and learn audio and make connections with the audio companies so I can work on my skills there. So, you know, you don't go to the basketball game for this team wearing the other team's jersey, you know, like you have to show up appropriately. And then I just happened to carry them all, and they're small, so it worked out.
No, that was very clutch. Speaking of, though, Mary Lou, you mentioned sort of the lack of people that look like us at the event. And I gotta say that I do feel like that was probably my event lowlight, is that it felt very much we know on paper that tech is a pretty male dominated industry, but like seeing it in person and feeling it, Kat, there was this moment, Mary Lou, you had already left, but like there was this after party at one of the vendors, and it was just like the most bro energy ever. Kat, do you want to share a little bit about the vibes?
Yeah, it was just felt like pumping testosterone into the center hall, exhibition hall. That there was, so first of all, there was alcohol and a DJ, and that, but I think what made it extra broy, so there were push-up competitions, squatting competitions, then there were people coming through on a bike, like a big, I don't know if it wasn't, I don't think it was a motorcycle, but I think it had some motorized.
It was like a mini, like a dirt bike, but not quite like a,
camera strapped to the back, and there were two of them just bouncing through the booth. I was like, oh my God, what is happening right now? It felt very bro-y. And I said to Eden, it's like, I'm not sure that I am cut out right now for this testosterone or this level of it. And there were just a few booths that really exemplified. Everyone was in black. Everyone looked like they're, gearheads. And not every booth felt like that. Just for the record, there were so many booths that just felt industry. A lot of people in suits, a lot of people who are there because they work in traditional media and broadcast and whatnot. But I think a lot of the companies that make gear that attract a younger content creation male stereotype, that was very present. And I will say, Mary Lou, I don't know if you're comfortable talking about it, but I know that we had that similar vibe at one of the booths where I feel like we were dismissed.
Yeah, we won't name names, but just know that, Mary Lou, do you want to share?
Yeah, so there was, like I went in with my targets, and again, almost everywhere was completely welcoming. They were ready for my questions because I come with questions. I come with I've got feedback. Can it do this? Does it do this? Is there feedback? Is there something new? And most places were like, oh my gosh, this is someone who's into it. Even if they were like, you don't look like our target market, so I'm not going to spend too much time with you, but I'll at least answer your questions, right? So I appreciate that, but I'm like, don't worry, next year you're going to know who I am. But one particular place that was like a big target for me going in there, I was like, can I talk to someone who works with the actual company? Because I used to be an event producer. I know with big events like this, usually half of the people are local staff that are hired to interact with people, brand ambassadors. And then there's the people who are actually from the brand who are there. So I was really trying to get a hold of someone like that, because what I had questions about were very specific, to a programmer who would be part of this. I was not allowed to talk to anybody. The person who I was talking to was like, no, I already told them. And I was like, but I just told you right now. How did you tell them since I told you? Because you haven't left. And this person just was not trying to have a conversation with me. But there was a whole black shirt dude cheering competition happening behind me that I feel like this person really wanted to be part of, which is, I get that also, but so I'm a paying customer. I utilize the products. I am a fan of the products, and I was dismissed, and it really hurt. It hurt. It really hurt because I was excited, and it's something that I'm always excited about, and I'll continue to be excited about it because the product is not the embodiment of this experience. But it was unfortunate because it's it was one of many moments where I was the only girl in the room, or we were, as a collective, as the females who were there, were talked down to or shifted or just told the way that we're experiencing the event was the wrong way to experience the event, which is bad. It's very, very bad. Don't do that to people. So we spend money as content creators who are women. We spend money. We buy things. We have the gas also. We have we want to try the things. We want to make the best production quality.
We love this stuff too.
And would you not you don't want our money?
It's not just our money. It's also, we have people who trust us And so if we make a recommendation, we want to stand behind it. And that's not necessarily just a product that we like. It's also going to be how the company behaves, and do they have integrity, and do they treat people well? I do think, Marilee, what you said, this person probably is not one of their maybe regular
reps,
employees.
they're like, yeah, like the person I was supposed to talk to.
But I think it's not just us buying, it's us recommending products and companies to other people. Or will we want to work with that company? It depends on how they treat people. And so I think it's really important to keep that in mind for any brands at all.
And I will say with this, the seeing this crowd, this experience in person. So if you've ever looked up reviews for cameras, you've typed into YouTube Osmo Pocket 3. There's like 4 guys who look the same. There's multiple. There's like hundreds of them, but there is a type, right? And then bless them, they know what they're talking about. They do give information that can help you make a buying decision. But like sometimes I would just like to hear about, how does this work for fun? How can I utilize this and just enjoy it? How can I fit this into my workflow in a more colorful way, and not the most like megapixels, the square size form factor? You know, I would just like to see some other faces. So going to this and seeing how rare we were has, for me, like, I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I am now doubling down on being a gear reviewer in this space, because I had always shied away from it because I'm like, oh, well, I'm not who they want to hear from. And then now I'm like, forget that. You're going to want to hear from me, because we need a different person. Yeah. Like, because gals like us, like, I know, like, when I make stuff, a lot of the times I think of Eden, and I was like, what would Eden want to know here? Oh, and how could we make this cute? How could we make this fun and enjoyable and not so serious? Like, why are they so serious?
On the cute point, there was a vendor who straight up told me and Mary Lou not to call one of their something that they were showing off cute. It was something that was objectively very cute. It was a small storage device, and we'll leave it at that because that's wide enough so that no one will know who exactly storage thing. But it was very cute. Me and Mary Lou were so excited about it and how cute it was, and how that was a factor that made us want this product because it would look cute on our desk with the other stuff. And the guy was like, oh, you're not allowed to call it cute. And he was like it wasn't like a joke either. Aggressive. He was not, it wasn't like a thing where he was like messing with us. He was like, was very like, do not call this thing cute. Like, it's too powerful and too useful to be like diminished as cute. But I'm like, to me and Mary Lou, cute is a compliment. We want things to be cute. Cute things fit into our workflow and our lifestyle. Like, it was such like a mind-blowing thing to experience, because whether it was the intention or not, I mean, clearly they didn't think about the intent of how they were coming off, or you know, at worst they didn't think about it, but like, it was a very off-putting experience to just have someone like come up to you and tell you that this thing that they're showcasing that you were very excited about, like, please don't be excited about it in that way. Like, that's not like, the vibe we felt in trouble.
Through. We felt like they were like, no, little girl, don't do that. Put that down. That's not for you, which is unfortunate. And there was like one interaction when we were walking back to the car at the end of the day. Like, there was just somebody who interjected themselves into our conversation. I'm like, that's fine. We're here. We're like meeting a conference. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I had no problem like chatting with this person. And I was like, oh, did you see anything today that you thought was really fun? And he's like, fun? I was like,
he was such a downer.
Yeah.
We're like, okay. I was just like, bye.
Yeah.
And then he went on to explain to me that I'll one day learn that coming to these conferences is about talking to people. He told me that. He taught me. I'm glad I know that now, sir. Thank you for explaining that to me.
Also, I got a video like a dad says, note to self, remove all black shirts from closet.
I have nothing against black. It's just, I don't know, but there would be these swarms of all black all together.
It's about the vibe the environment that it created. Yeah.
And I know why they wear the black shirts, because they're production guys, and typically, like, if you're working behind the scenes, like, you're filmmakers, like, you want to kind of blend in, like, if you're filming a wedding or if you're filming a conference. Like, when I was on the production side of filming events at conferences, like, we would need to wear black so we don't stand out. So I get it. It's just like
also
when we
light too, right? You don't want light
Mhm.
to reflect off of anything.
Yeah, so we just call them the black shirt guys just because it was a visual thing that we noticed.
I think so. Eden, I feel like this might have been on the last day. Do you remember a company specifically saying they were trying to get away from the highly, highly technical tutorials and reviews? Who was that? I feel like someone straight up said, we have so many people, they go in, they talk, they list all the specs, they do all the stuff, and it just goes over a lot of people's heads who are a user, who just want to know, how does this work? Is this right for me? And what do I have to know? And then stop, because I don't need you to run through every single tech spec for this product. But I can't remember who was saying that.
I
But
can't
really
remember it either, but I remember it because I think I looked at you and I was like, oh, that's your whole thing, is like simplifying things and making things like it doesn't have to be tech specs and like all these numbers that we don't understand. It can just be something that just works. TM. Shouts to Video Like a Dad, who would trust gear reviews from us three far more than the others we've seen. Thank you, my guy. We appreciate you. Yeah. And Anthony, you can be our designated Logan Roy for sure. So you just have to come
Wonderful. If you can do the voice.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say though on sort of the female experience is that, like, I feel like to sort of encapsulate it all, it's just like the moments where it was just me or Mary Lou talking to someone, but then the second Doc walks up, God bless Doc, we love him, but the second Doc walks up and all of a sudden everyone, like, people are so much more interested in engaging, that like that was very prominent across the event. It wasn't a one-off. It didn't happen once or twice. This was across the board a little bit. And so I do want to say, I will say the highlight to end on that topic for is that the females that were there, us females, and all the ones that we saw, I feel like it was super diverse in the sense that, like, it was all ages, all races represented, and all, like, different types of content that people do. Like, there were the people like us, like, at home in studio content creators, versus like all the way to like the people that are doing broadcasting on like TV stations. So it was like a huge range of like different types of females represented at NAB show. So like, ladies, if you guys are watching this, if you guys are catching the replay, come to NAB next year. If you do content, if you are interested in tech stuff, you work in tech, show up to NAB. It's a great event, and we need more women. We need more women.
Yes. You belong in the spaces. Even if it doesn't look like it, you belong there, because you look hard enough, we're there. You'll find us.
Yeah. All right. So to wrap the show up, I will go around the room just one more time. Big major takeaway. Anything, one last note that you wanted to share with the team. I know I feel like we've done a lot of different takeaways, but just one last final point that you want everyone to remember.
For me, is that to show up more in the spaces where I sometimes will shy away, and to not feel bad for being excited about the things I'm excited about, because the crowd doesn't feel like I don't look like the crowd. I belong there. You belong there. Just be excited about what you want to be excited about. And at NAB, there's so much to be excited about.
There is so much to be excited about. Kat, what about you?
I think one of my biggest takeaways was actually being in complete awe of the scale and the scope of that conference and all the jobs. I went to I think it was called Gals in Gear on the Sunday, and it was a session of women who were working in virtual production. So one worked for Fox Sports, and they showed demos. Some football's at our place quite a bit. And when they do these virtual production on these sets that they have now, they were showing some of the people who are working on the team behind that. And honestly, to me, it was really mind expanding of how many different incredibly innovative and creative jobs are out there that I never consider. Those are not the types of jobs I learned about growing up. I learned about you can be a doctor and a lawyer. And instead, it was just so cool to see all the different types of work that goes into broadcast and media, and it's so much bigger. And that's, if anyone is thinking about going to NAB show and they haven't been before, just know when you show up there, it is mostly industry people and not a ton of content creators, but they are slowly sort of building in more content geared towards content creators. But it's just, it kind of took my breath away, really looking at the scale and the scope and just the possibilities that are out there. I did not know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, it's that I want to be and I need to be just creating way more content because I need an excuse to try all the tech things because it's fun and I love it. It's like Mary Lou said, we belong here. We're here and we got to keep representing. We do have one question from our friend Hank Russell before we totally wrap. Did we have a limited amount of people you could have in your circle? I'm going to go with there was not a hard cap, but I feel like we had a good number, like 4 or 5 people together at once because it's not too overwhelming for the people to try to talk to and like meet, 4 or 5 people. If it was any more than that, I feel like it could get to the point where it's a little intimidating when it's 10 people roll up to a booth and you're like one person and you're like, oh God, how do I engage with all these people? But did you guys have thoughts?
Theme park rules, right? Like a small but like useful group where you can get things done, but you're not so many people that you can't get on the ride.
That's a great analogy. Yes. Yeah, Kat, what about you?
It wasn't like, and I think just to clarify what Hank is asking, they didn't like assemble a group for us. We just all were separately going and hung out together. So it wasn't like a specific like NAB put us together or any. I'm not sure if that's what you were asking. We just we just there and we just hung out together because there were other groups. Like Heather and Tom, they like had another group they were going around. We would meet up. Even Kat went with other groups and then came back. So as many as you need and small enough to get on the ride.
And I think if you have, so for me, there were a few things I wanted to see maybe at certain times. So I would just kind of say, okay, I'm going to go check out this for a little while and then I'll come back and meet, or I'll go and hang out with Heather and Tom for a bit and then I'll come back. So I was kind of bouncing back and forth, or I would go to a session. And as long as you can find your group again, which was not always easy, I think it's kind of nice to allow yourself also some exploration because the event is so big that if you want to see a lot of vendors or exhibitors, it's hard. And also if you're with Doc, because he's so well connected, it can be very hard to get him to break away from because he's in it and then people will see him and they'll stop him. And so trying to get anywhere takes some effort.
That's so true. Yeah, definitely. I would say when it comes to navigating NAB though, like have a plan and like definitely I would have like a prioritized hit list and like make sure you hit that list, but also just like leave a lot of room for the organic interactions because that's often where the magic and the fun happens. So yeah. Well, that was our NAB recap show. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming to join this show super last minute. We were like, oh, we wanted to do a show this week, and then we were like, let's do it today. So we did. So that's really exciting. Video Like a Dad says, thanks for the fun recap. And he feels like he's still lost in the convention center from when he went several years ago. Well, you got to come with us next year. So I will put a Find My tag on you and you won't get lost. But Find My is still only as useful as the blue dot range can be. Yeah.
I can't, this is half the convention floor. I can't find anyone.
Now, at a certain point, you just have to have someone reply and tell you what booth they're at. So
where are you? Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Thank y'all so much for joining the stream. And for those that catch the replay, drop your questions in the comments below and we will definitely answer them. Thank you, everyone, for an amazing show. All right. Thank you for joining and finish.